Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. As restaurants and businesses are reopening, many questions remain about how that can be done safely and as safely as possible for employees and for customers. That's why the Durham Recovery and Renewal Task Force has helped Durham City and County to launch the Back on the Bull campaign. Joining me to talk about what the campaign is and why it is needed are Mariel Beasley, a principal with Duke University Center for Advanced Hindsight, and Toriano Fredericks. He's the co-owner of Baraku Soul. Welcome, and thank you both for joining me. So Mariel, let's get started with you. What is the Center for Advanced Hindsight, and how is it involved in this effort?
So the center is part of Duke University, as you mentioned, and we work directly with companies and organizations and local governments to really help design better products, experiences, services focused on health and financial decisions. And so we use behavioral science to essentially examine and understand why people are making certain decisions and how can we use behavioral science and make small changes to help people make better decisions regarding their health and their finances. And
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. And so we were asked to lend some of our expertise to the city's efforts in the renewal because just knowing that so much of what needs to happen within Durham is behavior-based, right? So much of it needs to be that we need residents doing the right things, we need businesses doing the right things. And so how can we look at this with a behavioral lens? And so we were really brought on board to help contribute that expertise.
Okay. All right. So Toriano, tell us a little bit about your restaurant now, where it's located and what kind of food it is that you serve and when you were able to reopen.
Yeah, so I own Baraku Soul restaurant with my wife, Serena. We are located in the American Tobacco campus, so right across from the ball field. We got a covered little patio under in the middle of the campus there. Our food is a mix between soul food and Puerto Rican food, so it's really foods of our grandmothers. My grandmother was born in Andersonville, Georgia, and Serena's grandmother was born in Puerto Rico. So it's just basically cuisine that when we got together, it's kind of how we were cooking at home. So we were taking mac and cheese and collard greens and empanadas and mixing all these things together.
Wow, sounds interesting. Gonna have to check you out.
Yep.
So Mariel, tell me about the Back on the Bull campaign. What is it?
Yeah, so in mid-July, basically the Durham Recovery and Renewal Task Force announced this new campaign that's Back on the Bull. And we partnered with McKinney, which is a Durham-based national creative and media agency, to kind of create this look and feel of this campaign, which is really designed to help local businesses like Baraku Soul and also residents think about how the actions that they can do and the ways that they can kind of be out supporting local businesses but in ways that will help slow the spread of COVID-19. And it's really thinking about melding, good public health practices and behavioral science best practices. And the campaign is really kind of focused on that. And it's, the heart of it is about providing consumers, business owners, employees with kind of the right information they need in sort of easy formats to help with reopening. And there's kind of two primary components of the campaign. One is this voluntary self-certification tool. It's really more of like a health and safety checklist tool for businesses for those that are operating. And then the second piece of that is the backonthebull.com website. And both of these two things in conjunction, both the health and safety checklist and the website, are really designed to first help businesses just know what are the best practices, what are the steps that they can be taking to help reduce the spread. Because there's lots of information in all kinds of different places, but how do we sort of put it in a centralized place that's really easy to follow through and easy to understand? And it's really specific to each industry. So each business can choose the checklist that aligns most with their business type, whether it's a restaurant, a place of worship, an office space, et cetera. And then, so that's the core piece of it. And then we also wanted to make sure that we were helping to inspire some confidence among customers to know that these businesses, these local businesses in Durham are doing all of these amazing things and to keep their staff safe and to keep visitors safe. And so we wanted to be able to highlight and emphasize those things to help bring some of that trust and confidence back to consumers.
Sounds well thought out.
Yeah, it's really supposed to be this sort of rallying cry for the community, both businesses and consumers, to come together,
Mhm.
support each other as we really think about how do we make sure that we're opening in a way that keeps Durham healthy, strong, and actually even better than before.
Great. So, Toriano, as a restaurant owner, why do you think this kind of campaign was actually needed?
Yeah, I think it's important just for guidance and transparency. I kind of missed part of your question before as far as when we were able to open back up. We only closed for about a week in late March, or about the time that the stay-at-home order for the state was given by the governor. And just at that time, there was so much information coming out and coming from different places. It was hard to figure out what was good information, what was true. And so we closed for a week to kind of do a little self-evaluation for ourselves and figure out if we're doing the right thing to keep ourselves and our employees safe. We opened back up at that point a week later just for curbside. And so it was just myself in the restaurant by myself because we weren't sure about, being close with each other in such a small space, if we were going to get anybody sick. So we just did curbside. I did that by myself until I couldn't do it anymore. And then Serena came in the restaurant because we were one family unit. And we did it that way. And slowly we started bringing people back and brought restaurant side and started bringing things on slowly. But it's just a program like this puts all that information in one place, so you don't have to go all these different places and try to figure out what's correct and what we need. And it also gives us the guidance.
Do you think it would be as helpful for other restaurants and businesses as well as it has been for you?
I think so, because all the information is there. It's also, when you're going through the checklist, it's much of a reminder for you to assess, okay, these may be things that you're doing, but is everybody else doing them? Does the team have all the information that they need? I'm guilty of it a lot. A lot of times I have thoughts in my head and I don't get them out to everyone else. So this is something that I can print out, everyone can read, they can acknowledge that they've read it, and that everyone is practicing.
Okay, thanks. So, Muriel, where did the idea for this campaign start?
Yeah, so Ryan Smith, who's helped staffing the task force for Durham's reopening, asked if we would be able and willing to offer our expertise at no cost to the city. We very much said, yes, we'd love to. And our first approach is we want to see what's happening. We want to see where are the friction points, what are the trouble issues, and where might we be able to use behavioral science to help encourage it. And so it actually started with Ryan and I taking a trip to the mall when it was open. It had recently opened. We put our masks on and we headed there to do sort of a really informal audit just to see what our business is doing as they reopen. And this was, it was in phase 1, so the retail was open. And what we saw was just a huge variation in the ways that businesses were, the actions that they were taking. We saw a huge variation in the types of signage that people were using. Some were really good and some had room for improvement. It was more like a Word document, small font, a list of all these things that it was, not really eye-catching, not really clear. Some had, things where they had taped lines on the floor. Some had, greeters at the front who were helping monitor the space and offering masks to people, and other businesses didn't have those things set up. And we thought, these are national chains, which have like huge, teams behind them whose responsibility is, looking up and understanding the guidelines and creating materials and things like that for them. And so we thought if they're having a hard time coming up with really good, consistent ways to communicate the things that they're doing and being able to demonstrate and show those things, we could imagine that the trouble is even larger for some of our local businesses that are, small family units and small family teams that are kind of really also trying to run their business and think of all of this stuff at the same time. And so we really wanted to make it easier. And that was really kind of the start of it. But we knew that we needed a good look. We knew that we needed a good feel. We knew that it needed to be something that was engaging and eye-catching. And so then Mayor Schul reached out to McKinney to see if they would also be willing to lend their expertise to the city. And they also jumped at the opportunity and helped really design the visual aspects of the campaign.
Okay, so Mariel, I know you mentioned the voluntary self-certification. Tell us a little bit about that. I know it's a tool for businesses, but what is it exactly and how does it work?
Yeah, so it's an online checklist, which really sort of, and it's designed for each industry to kind of have their own checklist of things, because the things that a restaurant does probably don't make sense for an office space to do. So it really kind of thinks industry specific. And so we structured that checklist really around around what we understand about the spread of COVID-19. So it's really focused on what are the actions you're taking specifically to, maintain a distance of 6 feet. What are you doing specifically to reduce the likelihood of contact with infected surfaces or potentially infected surfaces? So it's really structured to get back to remind people that the reason why we're doing this is because of these things. And I would note, we we study human behavior. We are not epidemiologists. We're not public health experts. So we actually pulled in help from Durham County Department of Public Health. They've reviewed everything. We had a great epidemiologist from Duke who reviewed everything. We also pulled a lot of it from the CDC guidelines, but translated it into a little bit more actionable guidelines, because that's an important part of the checklist. And, it takes about 15 minutes for a business to go through and do it. And as Toriano already sort of alluded to, once you're completed, you really get this actually customized printout that is a summary of all of the things that you've committed to doing. And there's one that is, the full list, which is for staff to be able to see and revise. But we know that businesses are actually doing so many things that if you tried to show customers all of that on one piece of paper, it would be overwhelming. So then we actually also have a customized poster that really pulls out some of the top 5 things that you're doing that can be posted at the business so that customers can really see the things that you're doing. And as I sort of mentioned, the goal for it is that in making the guidelines more straightforward and approachable, along with like clear links of if you say you're going to do something, there's a clear link that takes you to how to do it. For example, one of the things in the checklist is about, post signs that masks are required. And on that checklist item, if you click that button, it takes you to a designed poster that says masks are required. So then it's easy for a business to say, oh, great, you want me to post a sign? Click, here's a sign I can print. So we really wanted to make it straightforward and approachable to help kind of with consistency and widespread adoption and make it all more achievable.
Have you gotten any feedback yet?
We've gotten some great feedback. We've had actually about 200 businesses actually go through it. And a lot of what we're hearing is that it's helpful to have all of these things in one place. It's incredibly helpful to be able to have also the resources of the links and whatnot. And we've just heard from some businesses that they kind of going through it has helped them kind of think through clearly about their strategy and feel more confident in the way that they're protecting their staff and their employees and their customers.
Toriano, have you used the self-certification tool? I know you're running your business now, right as we're taping this, and I was wondering, what was it like for you?
Yeah, we have done it, and it was an easy process. Again, it's a matter of going through, answering these questions, and again, for you, it's a reminder. Are these things that you're doing every day, and it's something that you take action, print them out, and have them so everyone can look at it and be accountable for it.
Okay, so what are some of the steps that were included in the checklist that you've been keeping for your employees and for your customers as well to let them know how you're keeping them safe?
A lot of the things we were already doing, things like the spacing, seating out 6 feet. We have actually kept our dining room closed because we didn't feel, with it being such a small space, that we would be able to comply with the 6 feet and everyone be happy and cleaning standards and everything. But luckily we have a great outdoor patio space, and we have these big doors and windows that slide back. So we've moved our POS system to the door, and we've created a line that has little posters on the ground that help people keep that 6 feet distance. So that's one thing that we've done. There's also a point in there about keeping people from gathering and using text messaging. So we do have an online ordering system, and so when the order comes in, we have an iPad in our kitchen, and once this individual's food is ready, we can let them know via text. So we just say food ready. So our hope there is that if we're consistent with that operation and people know that they're going to see the text message, that will keep them from standing. Because here in American Tobacco, there's so much space to stand, but a lot of times people get close so they can hear their name or whatever it is. So we're trying to get people in the thought process of, okay, when I get this text message, that's time for me to come and grab my food. As well with that, we're using buzzers that we disinfect on every use for people that are dining on the patio. So when we take their order, we disinfect the buzzer, then hand the buzzer to them. And so again, there's a number of places that they can sit here and eat, but a lot of people walk off a little bit. There's some tables not directly on our patio, but off a little bit, maybe about 50 feet or so. So they can go and sit there and comfortably know that they'll get a buzz when their food is ready. They bring it back, they put it in a bin. Before we put those back in operation, we disinfect them again. So really before the person even gets the buzzer, it's been disinfected, but we disinfect it in front of them so they can see. It's just they're not assuming that we've done it previously. I think a lot of this is giving people that level of confidence, even if you've done something, or even if health-wise certain things don't have to be done a certain way. Visually, people want to see things. They want to be confident, and as hospitality people, that's what we're here to do.
So, Mariel, tell us about any other steps that are included in the checklist and why they were included.
Yeah, so a lot of the things are things that Toriana is mentioning, right? So marking spaces on the floor to remind people of that 6 foot distance, disinfecting high touch objects between use, things like, actually prioritizing outdoor seating, like really encouraging people to first fill outdoor seating before thinking about indoor seating, thinking about good ventilation. And so things like keeping doors and windows open when you can in accordance to public health. And so as I mentioned, it's really structured around these things to maintain distance, things to reduce contact, also things like daily screening symptom, like daily symptom screening of different, of staff who are coming in, and then also including, numbers for public health to call public health if one of your staff comes down with something. And really the goal, as mentioned, is we know that a lot of these businesses are doing a lot of these things already. And it also doesn't necessarily make sense for a business to do everything, right? Every business is different. And so the things that are talking about, remove caddies from tables inside doesn't really apply to Toriano. So he doesn't mark that on his checklist because they're not doing any inside seating. So that's kind of an example. The goal really is to focus on, it's a list of things you can do to reduce risk related to this. It doesn't mean that every business is going to do every single one of them, because that doesn't necessarily make sense for their business. But it really is that, Toriano and is already doing all of these things, was doing a lot of these things as they opened up. But customers don't know that. They don't see that. It's not obvious to them. And so we also wanted to make it transparent. And that was a huge goal, is to, help customers feel comfortable, because there's a ton of stuff that our local businesses are doing to keep their staff and people safe. But if you're just a customer, you don't see it. And so we wanted to make sure that it was transparent, people knew that and understood that.
So Toriana, again, why do you think going through this self-certification process would be important for your business in the first place?
I think we've already talked about as far as transparency, accountability, and again, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. I think as well, if people are coming downtown and they're going to different businesses in Durham and they see these signs and they can go on a website and see who's holding themselves to a higher level, who's not afraid to let people see what they're doing. And also it's just a level of unity. If people see the signs, maybe that gives them a level of, like the downtown restaurants or Durham restaurants are a unit and kind of what they're doing to keep the community safe.
Kind of like a good housekeeping seal of approval in a way, that you've thought of everything to keep your employees as well as your customers safe. And that's important nowadays, very important. So Mariel, tell us about the Back on the Bull website. What can people find there?
Yeah, so it really, the goal is really that it serves as a centralized hub of information for Durhamites, both customers, but also businesses. And so it, has the guidelines for business owners, but it also has, an opportunity and a place for Durham residents to take the Count on Me pledge about being a good guest. It has, a whole bunch. It has, a place where you can see more information about Durham's Safer at Home order, more places where you can sort of get us more resources that where sort of residents can access the county data hub to see really what's going on in Durham. So we really wanted to kind of create this centralized location for information that folks in Durham might be interested in and need. And the other thing that it has, of course, which really is part of the heart of this, is that it has a searchable map of establishments in Durham that have taken steps, that taken these extra steps and are part of the Back on the Bull campaign. And so business like Boricua Soul, and it really is so that for customers, even before they leave their house, they can say, I'm thinking about going, I'm thinking about grabbing food from someplace, or I'm thinking about going out to eat and getting lunch somewhere. And they can, look on the website and see what are the businesses that are participating, and then again, giving that transparency so they can actually see what are they doing. Do I feel safe? And I would also note that, we really wanted to make sure that we were able to emphasize and support the diversity that makes Durham strong. And so there is also an opportunity on the map to look specifically filter for minority-owned businesses, knowing that we wanted to make sure that we're able to call out, lift up, and support those businesses in our community, especially.
Great. You guys have thought of everything, and this is a complete one-stop shop for the times, Toriano, have the website and checklist have been helpful tools for you as you've reopened and gotten back into the groove?
Yeah, it has been helpful. Again, being able to go and click on these links and find the different posters that we may want to put up for our employees and everything. Because again, information is changing, new information is coming in, and so being able to go to one space and not search the internet, because as you know, we're running a business, a small business, and trying to figure that out. And so being able to find everything in one place is extremely helpful.
I can imagine. Mariel, Toriano just mentioned the posters, but explain the purpose of the posters really quickly.
Yeah, so we have 3 different categories of posters. So the first category is for businesses that go through that self-certification process and that health and safety checklist. And basically what happens is that it sort of pulls out, as I mentioned, the top 5 things into a really nicely designed poster that businesses can display. So that's sort of that first category is really for businesses to display publicly to customers all the top 5 things that the business has gone through as part of that health and safety checklist. The second category of posters are posters that businesses can post that are, particularly the one that's most top of mind at the moment is the masks required, right? So that is, there's actually required posting. It's now actually required in Durham that businesses post a masks required sign. And so we actually have one that is designed and in the same sort of feel of the back on the bowl campaign. And so it's on brand and all of that to keep that cohesiveness. So that is, that's really that second category. And then the third category are posters that just kind of that are reminders about different actions that customers and community as a whole can take to keep us safe. So, you know, and some of those are really around getting the brand out and getting people to think about the website as a place to go to look to see, oh, what business what businesses might I visit today? How do they look? What are they doing? And those are things like, you know, a nice poster, for example, that says like, let's get back on the bowl, join our pledge, and encourages you to go to the website to find out what that is. And when we talk about the pledge, really the pledge is about everyone just kind of doing their part to help business recover and reopen in a safe way. And we really think that there's a part both for businesses and a part for customers. And so emphasizing that is sort of that third category of posters that, you know, businesses are doing their part, but it's also important for us as residents to do our part in supporting businesses and also, you know, making sure that we are wearing masks, making sure that we are maintaining distance, all of these things that an individual also has to do. And then I guess the last thing that I would note is that, you know, we were well into the design of this program and campaign when the state announced a requirement for businesses to provide notice of the actions that they're taking to prevent COVID transmission. So we did not know that this was coming down the line when we started designing this, but it's actually quite serendipitous because the campaign website and posters are basically ideally suited for this purpose because they were designed to tell people these are the things that the business is doing. And so that basically that postage gets automatically generated when they go through that checklist. So again, trying to make it easier for businesses to comply.
Right. So is the website in English as well as Spanish?
Yes. So that has been
Spanish as well as English. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's a really core component of all of this is we want to make sure that it is, you know, as accessible to as most of Durham as possible. And so everything is both in English and Spanish. The business checklist is in English and Spanish. The signs are all in English and Spanish. We've really wanted to emphasize the fact that this is a community-wide effort and we have folks in our community that speak multiple languages. So we wanted to make sure that that was available for them.
Wonderful. Tariana, as a business owner, how has business actually been so far? Have you felt the support from your customers?
Yeah, it has been a roller coaster. You know, going from the point of closing down for a week and then coming in, being in the restaurant by myself and operating that way and then bringing my family in and then bringing our family back in, our employees. The support from the community has been at times overwhelming, literally, because, you know, we're in this situation where labor-wise, we're still trying to kind of figure out how we're operating. Obviously, we are not as busy as we would have been right now, so we have our labor a little low, and then we do get a bunch of support from the community, and you know the labor kind of isn't matching that. But people have been so understanding. When we were doing curbside, we had a lady, Serena, handed her food, and she cried when Serena gave her the food because she was just so happy. It was the first meal that she'd eaten out in a certain amount of time. We've gotten letters of support from people that they've handed us a letter and just, you know, thanked us. And so it's amazing how grateful people are. And that's been something that's been great. And
Mm-hmm.
even, you know, on days where, you know, we're overwhelmed, the understanding that people have during those periods, they're just, look, we'll wait, don't worry about it. So that's been great.
Great. So Mariel, I know you said the response has been really amazing so far, but it should be because I think the great thing about this website is one-stop shop, you know, for people who are looking for a place to see that a business is doing all the right things to protect their employees as well as their customer. You know, just look for the posters in the window and check on the website, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, which is really neat. We're trying to make sure that it is an easy place, easy thing for folks to navigate. And it's been really fun, actually. It's with the recent launch, walking around, and I've already been passing businesses and seeing the posters in the window. So it's great, and that's the beautiful thing about the public facing database, the map where people can search, is that you can also, even before you leave home, you can figure out which businesses are participating.
Must be really rewarding to see that your work is having an immediate impact for people.
Yeah, very much. It is, it's always nice to be able to see, some of that immediate effects. And, for us at the center, we love and care about Durham. We all live here, and when we were asked if we could lend our help to figuring out a way to keep Durham sort of thriving and to keep the businesses that we all have come to love and enjoy, to help make it easier for them to do the things that they need to do, we really jumped at the opportunity.
Wonderful. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to add about this campaign and how it's going, and why you'd encourage everybody to get back on the bull?
I'd like to say, Mariel, thank you so much for creating this type of program for us, in the sense too, making sure that the public understands what we're doing and kind of what's asked of them when visiting a business, and just kind of everybody coming together and making it easier for us all to succeed. Thank you.
Thanks. And I'll also put in a plug for Boricua Soul. The food's great. The patio's great. So I'd recommend giving them a visit.
Great. Both of you, thank you so much for joining me. That does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media, watch us on the Durham Television Network and on YouTube. And now you can listen to our podcasts on iTunes as well. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.